Hey guys, what's up? My name is Ben. How are you guys doing today? What I have you today in this video is a recap video of Apple's event today on June 8th, 2015. Without further ado, let's get started. And excuse me, you see me looking in the other direction right there because I have my notes on this monitor right here. So without further ado, let's get started. So Apple announced the next update of macOS 10 and they're calling it macOS 10 El Capitan. I believe that's how it's pronounced, Capitan or Capitan, however it's pronounced. It's macOS 10 10.11, and it's supposed to focus on experience and performance. And what's nice is they have some additional features right here. These may seem like small features, but they can come really handy. For instance, the mouse cursor. So if your Mac were to go to sleep and then you wake it up from sleep, your mouse cursor just becomes bigger and bigger, so that way it's easier for you to find it, and then it gets smaller once it's completely done waking up. You can also resize the spotlight panel and control how applications function and look. And the search in the Mail app works with natural language, and apps launch 1.4 times faster than before. And they have this thing called Metal for Mac, meaning OpenGL is done, and this is supposed to improve the rendering effects, and Adobe will adopt it in OS X apps. And this was demonstrated by Epic Games and stated that tech makes the game development better and easier. So Apple was able to make the games development a little bit more convenient for developers out there with this Metal feature. Now there's tons of features that was announced or that are listed for macOS 10 El Capitan or Capitan. I'm trying to figure out how to say it already. But the first beta will be coming out in July, but the free upgrade will be coming in fall. So first beta will be coming in July, which is, I'm assuming, is for developers or the public. I'm 100% sure this will be released to the public. I'm not sure what they mean by that. Maybe they mean everybody, that including the ones that aren't developers. I don't know, I read that in the article somewhere, but that's basically macOS 10 El Capitan, or 10.11. So tons of features, and for those of you guys that can get your hand on the beta software, definitely explore it and take the time. Okay, now that we're done with macOS 10, let's talk about iOS 9, and Apple had a lot to say for iOS 9. And they started out by trying to make it be more proactive by having Siri knowing how to react based on what you do with your devices, such as you plug your headphones in, it's going to start playing music, or you get into the car, it starts an audiobook. So basically it's trying to get iOS to be smarter and trying to get to know you. And it has a new Suggest app feature for Siri. Because of that, Spotlight and Siri are more integrated together, and all you have to do is pull down the Spotlight shade to get the suggestions. Meaning, like, it can suggest the recent apps that you've been looking at, or the recent contacts that you may want to contact. And so it's basically trying to get to know you, see which ones you use the most. Now, there's an API for search that Apple has implemented, so that way you can find content that's directly inside the apps themselves. Such as, like, you can check the calendars app, the iBook store, the clock, Wikipedia, movies, and tons of stuff out there. This is supposed to give users a piece of their mind and to provide them greater security. And my thoughts on greater security, well, that'll be in a later video. Now, also, when you're automatically getting mail, it's also going to be added to the calendar. Not 100% sure if I understood that correctly, or I understand how that process goes. So I'm definitely going to look into it. And they have this proactive assistant which lets you know when you should leave based on your calendar event. So let's say if you had your calendar event sent for a certain time, and it's going to try to suggest to you that you should leave for that event immediately if you do have to travel to that event. Now, Apple was saying that this won't grab any information from your email, and they don't even want to know your information anyway. But Anything can be breached, but hopefully they'll try to make it as secure as possible and not prevent any attacks from coming in. Now, they also stated that 1 million retailers accepted Apple Pay in Square, the company that makes the Square card reader, the ones that you can plug into your device and then have customers swipe their cards with it. So that way you got their payment information and they're basically buying your product just by having you purchase that Square reader. Well, a new reader is going to come out in the fall, and it's going to support the credit cards or debit cards out there with the chip on it, and it's going to support Apple Pay and other NFC payment options. And the pre-order is going to run you at $49, and Square is going to reimburse your reader up to $49 for within the first 3 months after it's released. And Apple Pay will be heading into the UK in July and available at over 250,000 locations at launch, including most banks and the Oyster card for public transportation that's used in London. And of course, it's got to accept reward cards. Now, as far as the Passbook app is concerned, if you guys even remember the Passbook app, that was supposed to basically keep your information in there. Well, apparently that's being replaced with a new app called Wallet, which lets you take advantage of the benefits from retail stores, and the support for this will be coming in the fall when the actual release of iOS 9 comes out, along with the new iPhone, if they are going to release one at that time, which I'm pretty sure they will. And the benefits could be like Dunkin' Donuts, Subway, Target, whatever the retailers they're going to support. Now, as far as Apple Maps is concerned, Apple Maps, they pretty much improved it in most cases, and it's going to have public transit directions, and you can actually search for directions that require only public transit or walking. Alright, and the first markets to offer this are Baltimore, Berlin, New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, San Francisco, London, Toronto, Mexico City, Washington DC, and of course more areas in China. Now, Apple has also announced a news app, which is basically for articles, for those of you guys that don't really read articles, or for those of you that really love to read articles on your devices. This is the app that you might be interested in, and it lets companies build articles that's for news only, and it learns what you like over time. It has a favorites tab, so that way you can store your favorite articles there. And it's going to launch with the New York Times, ESPN, and Condé Nast. Now, iOS 9 is supposed to provide better multitasking on the iPads, because since the iPads have that larger screen real estate, Apple wants to take advantage of the screen real estate more, and they're going to do this by improving multitasking. Now, you guys are probably thinking, well, it's probably just the app switcher, because that's what multitasking is to Apple. Well, in a way, yeah, but they've done something different with this that Android has already integrated in certain Android skins, Samsung and LG, and I believe those are the only two, but Apple's catching up right here. Basically, it allows you to run multiple apps on the same screen. It has a new task switcher, and when you double tap the home button, and the new feature called Slide Over lets you swipe to another app from the side, and you can pull down from the top and bring in other applications, resize, drag, and drop, and of course you can do certain gestures on the screen in order to manage your windows however way you like it. Now, a feature called Split View allows two apps to be open and active. So Split View is like you have two separate apps on either side of the screen, kind of like on the PC or computer, especially with Windows 7, Windows 8, and 8.1, where you have the arrow snap feature, so that way you can set your window to either take up half of the screen or the whole screen, or if you drag it all the way to the bottom by extending the window, it's going to snap it to the bottom. For those of you Windows users, you get the idea. Mac users, I'm not 100% sure how that's done for you, but I recently been trying out Macs before on other people's machines, and I haven't seen anything like that. I can't even drag the window open, but For those of you guys that do know, then yeah, you're going to be excited for this one if you do have the iPad. Alright, and split view, or actually video can play over other windows as well. The same thing that you can do with Android. And split view is only going to be for the iPad Air 2. However, features such as slide over and PIP or PIP will be on the iPad Air and the iPads after that, as well as the iPad Mini 2 and the ones after that. So all the other older iPads aren't going to support those features, unfortunately, because the hardware just can't handle it. But possibly they could be upgraded. We'll find out about that later. Alright, and iOS 9 allows you to interact with HomeKit devices to control smart outlets, light switches, and smart window shades. Now, Apple announced a new programming language called Swift 2, and it's an updated open source version that can be used for iOS, OS X, and Linux. So you can actually use these 3 different platforms to create your apps for OS X, and I believe the other way around for iOS. I'm not sure about Linux, but it sounds like Linux, you can use it to create your OS X apps. Alright, and the improvements with Swift 2 are error handling model, markdown and comments, availability checking, protocol extensions, and migrator from Swift 1.2. Now, the public beta for iOS 9 will be coming out in July, and it'll support all devices running iOS 8. So, back to what I was saying before, the devices that don't support those multitasking features, they can still possibly be upgraded to iOS 9 as long as they run iOS 8 currently. And iOS 8 will be available for the iPhone 6 Plus all the way down to the 4S, and the developer beta will be available today. Alright, so as you can see, iOS 9 had tons of stuff, but Apple also talked about the Apple Watch a little bit in terms of the next update through the operating system, and this is going to be known as Watch OS 2 or Apple Watch OS 2. And basically you can set the photos as your watch face or an entire album from the gallery of your photos. And they have this feature called time-lapse face, which shows a time-lapse for various locations. Alright, Hong Kong, London, New York, you name it. And they have another feature called time travel, which basically moves forward and backward through time to see how your day changes in real time when you're rotating the crown on the watch itself. And they have a nightstand mode that lets you keep the face of the watch or the screen on all night while it's charging. And you can add more friends and send new text with different colors in your sketches. And it has FaceTime audio, which will be coming. Siri can be used to start your workouts. Apple Pay can store cards. Will also be supported in addition to the new wallet app that will replace Passbook. Public transit directions and Apple Maps support is included too, complete with step-by-step direction. Alright, and Siri is also changing. You can change. You can use Siri to control the gadgets in your smart home, and can use Siri to pull up glances on the Apple Watch. Alright, and Watch OS 2 will be available this fall, but the developer preview is going to be out today. So another thing that Apple has announced is Apple Music, which is their music streaming service, and it's going to run you for $9.99 per month, so that's $10 a month. And yes, this is a paid service, but you only get charged that $10 after a free 3-month trial, and 6 people can share a single plan for $14.99 a month, $15. And you can stream all of the music available on iTunes and listen in certain playlists. Now, there's a 24/7 live global radio station named Beats One, and it's available, and it's being broadcast around the world from 3 cities. Now, I'm not sure what the specific cities are, but at least you got it from different parts of the world. And they have a connect feature which allows artists to share songs, demos, mixtapes, lyrics, sound bites, and they can do more. So that's pretty much it for the Apple music streaming service. They basically have their own service for streaming. This is like Spotify and other music streaming services for those of you guys that use them. And this will be available on June 30th for iOS and iTunes users, for both PC and Mac users. And not only that, Apple said an Android version will be coming out this fall, so they are doing something in the Android platform. I got something to say about that, but that'll be in a later video. So that's it, guys. That was pretty much my recap of Apple's event today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, rate, comment, and what are you guys most excited for? Are you most excited for iOS 9, OS X, Apple's music streaming, watch OS 2, or do you just find none of these not interesting and you're going to stick with Android, Windows, BlackBerry? Leave any comment you want. And thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.